Welcome to another episode of the SOS Show. We're up in beautiful Ojai, California, and I've got lovely Raina on board. I picked her up at the Thatcher School, which is a private school. It's private, right?
Yes, it is a private school.
Tell us about the Thatcher School.
The Thatcher School is a really unique community. It's a boarding school for freshmen through seniors, and as a freshman you have to care for a horse. So that's the main aspect of Thacher.
And what was your horse's name?
My horse's name was Romeo.
And he didn't die on you, did he?
He did not die on me.
Did you get to ride him?
Yes, you have to ride them 6 times a week.
For how long?
For about an hour and a half every day.
And you had to feed him and bathe him and...
Yes, you have to feed them, bathe them, and feed them. And if you forget to feed them, you actually have to, you get a punishment basically, so you can't forget anything.
This is not, needs to be tighter, I think. There we go. A little technical difficulty there. Okay, so you were saying about the comparison between Los Angeles, going to school in Los Angeles, and up here in Ojai, which has a very ethereal, what's the word for it? The ambience in Ojai. How do you describe that? Very
chill and down to earth, I would say.
Okay. So, and how did you compare Los Angeles?
Oh, yeah. So I grew up in Los Angeles, and it's a very cutthroat social scene for teenagers. It's super unhealthy. I went to private school there for 12 years, and it wasn't the best experience for me, so I actually decided to go to Thacher on my own, where people are much more down to earth and kind. And Thacher is a very humbling school where you have to do a lot of things that don't exactly look glamorous, like shoveling horse poop and going camping.
So you had to do the horse poop in the first year.
Yes.
And then you graduate in the second year. Is there less of a duty, or there's still some duties?
Yeah, you still have things you have to do, but after freshman year, you don't have to continue riding. You can choose to, but I did not. I wasn't a huge fan of riding horses and taking care of them.
Okay, and how many in your class?
I have 60 students in my class.
So everyone's chill?
Most everyone. There's actually a huge population of kids from San Francisco that go to Thacher, so they're not always super down to earth, but as a whole I would say the community is really sweet.
Okay. And so this weekend happens to be a tennis tournament called the Ojai, which is the oldest amateur tournament in America. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, I didn't.
120 some odd years old. And the whole town puts out the red carpet. So you've been here for the tournament last year? Or the year before?
I don't know if I've ever gone to watch, but I've been here while it's been happening.
So you know about it?
Yes, I know about it.
You can hardly avoid it.
Yeah, you can't.
The whole town it's quite an event, and you should really go see a match or two. All the colleges are participating, and I'm kind of proud of it because my son is the winningest person in the tournament history, Lester Cook.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone who knows tennis will know Lester up here. He's in real estate now. He's retired, ex-tennis pro. So, but we love tennis. We come up here every year since he was 12. So that's he's 34 now. So we've been coming up here every year for 22 years.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
It's a lot of fun. We love it. So let's get back to you. You're going home for the weekend.
Yes.
Which is in Calabasas.
Mm-hmm.
Calabasas is chill.
It is chill, yeah. It's chill, but the community is probably the most spoiled, I would say, for sure.
You don't happen to know the Heinbergs, do you?
I do not.
That's my son's tennis coach was a big popular tennis coach in Calabasas.
Oh, okay.
So now we want to talk about your dreams and aspirations in life.
Yes. So as I mentioned earlier, I actually want to study German studies in college. I've learned a lot about German history and German culture, and I'm I'm particularly interested in basically the culture of the Republic that occurred before Hitler rose to power, which was one of Germany's first democracies ever implemented by basically Western society, France, England, and America. So that's basically my main reason why I want to study German and learn the language, and hopefully become a German professor or something.
Okay, how do you say I speak German?
Oh, I don't remember.
Ich sprechen Sie Deutsch. Ich sprechen Sie Deutsch.
Sie Deutsch.
How do you say thank you?
Guten Tag? No, it sounds like thank you.
Danke?
Danke, yeah.
And good day?
Guten Tag.
Guten Tag, very good. So I was, when I hitchhiked around the world as a young man, I was in Germany, and it freaked me out to see railroad crossings, because it reminded me of the war, the war movies.
Yeah.
And it's like eerie, because it looks exactly the same as when Hitler was, destroying the world, was lack for a better term. But, so I have a German friend that's a director. He's made a very beautiful love story, and he's a character, Klaus Menzel. He just did a movie called What About Love? A very beautiful love story that I'm helping him find distribution, and might be released next year on Valentine's Day. Which would be kind of fun.
Oh wow, in Germany or also
No, here,
America?
here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, mostly here. So, do you have a boyfriend?
I do have a boyfriend.
Okay, how did that happen?
I met him over the summer, and we've been together basically ever since.
Is this your first love?
This is not my first love, but he's definitely the longest person that I've been dating. So.
Tell us about him.
His name is Tanner. He also lives in the area. He lives in Agora Hills.
Oh, he lives in Agora.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't live up here.
No, he doesn't.
Oh, so you'll see Tanner this weekend.
Yes, I will.
Very good. And he's the same age?
He's actually a little bit older than me.
Okay. It's typical. Most times guys are a little older than the girls.
Yeah.
Okay, we can get into the advice stage. Would you like any advice on relationships, on travel, on parenting, dealing with your parents? You get along with your parents?
We fight sometimes. Overall, we're pretty good.
But
Yeah.
because I had a daughter, and she, how old are you?
I'm 17.
Yeah, she was a hell of a problem at 17. Because, typically girls at 17 know everything. They have all the answers, and you can't tell them anything, because they know the answers.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you?
I don't necessarily think I come off that way. The fights I usually get in with my parents are usually more about just like childhood issues we've come across basically, and insecurities they have, I think, as parents. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay. Have you heard of a book called The Four Agreements? Do you read books?
I do read books, but I've not heard of that one.
Let me tell you about two books. One is called The Four Agreements. And a very dear friend gave it to me. I don't read many books, but this one is particularly interesting. It's very short and very deep. And if you live by these four agreements, your life will be better. And you'll probably want to tell everyone you know about the four agreements. I'll tell you, and the book goes into depth of how important all these agreements are, but I'll tell you what they are. The first agreement is be impeccable with your word. So that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
If you always keep up with what you say you're going to do, that's huge. Most people probably don't. The second one is never take what people say personally. It happens a lot with the problems that you might have with your parents or your brothers or sisters.
Yeah.
When people say something, it's not typically about you. It's about they may have problems, they may have insecurities, they have issues, right? So you can't take, and especially if you don't know the people, you can't take it personally because you don't know where they're coming from. I always said if I run into 100 people and one day they say, Monty, you're an idiot, I just ran into 100 people, bad luck, that didn't know what they're talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you really, it's very important, that one. My wife, she takes what everyone says personally. Bad thing to do. So that's real. If you can get over that one, that's going to be good. Okay?
Yeah.
Be like a water on a duck, let it roll right off. Yeah. The third one is never make assumptions. And we all make assumptions, about when we see something, and that's a bad thing. And the last one is very important, is always do your best. So if you live by those 4 agreements, it might be you might have an easier life. Yeah. And it's a best-selling book for decades, so it's not a new book, it's an old book. The second book you have to read is my book. It's my story. It's called Lester's Legacy. And a lot of people have read it and found it very interesting. Because I used to tell people my story and they couldn't believe it, so I finally wrote it into a book. So it's called Lester's Legacy. If you have a Kindle, it's like $5 or something.
What's your story?
Well, I'm an orphan, and I was born in Beverly Hills. My father left my mother early on, and she was raised in high society, which is, like you were saying earlier, is bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. So she got disillusioned with high society and married a beatnik. You know what a beatnik is?
I do not.
You know what a hippie is?
Yeah, I know what a hippie is.
Okay, well, beatniks were artists before hippies. And they really didn't care about money. All they cared about was love and art and family. Okay. So she married a beatnik, and we moved from Beverly Hills to Venice, the poorest area in Los Angeles at the time.
Yeah.
And then we moved, and he always would paint. He didn't work; he'd just paint and pay rent with the paintings. So then we moved to the hills in Topanga. Then we moved to San Francisco, Potrero Hill, again the poorest area of town, and today you can't afford it. And then finally we got away from society, and we moved to Hillsburg. And Hillsburg, we lived in a commune. One family had a tree house, another family had a regular house, and we had a log cabin that we built from scratch. And then one night the house burned down and nearly killed me and my sisters. And a very famous artist by the name of George Herms rescued me and my sisters. At the last minute, the house is crumbling. Yeah. And we lived so far in the hills, there was no one to put out our fire. So it burned 10,000 acres before the firemen could arrive the next day and start putting it out. So he committed suicide shortly thereafter, because that was like the straw that broke the camel's back. And my mom died from an ulcer operation a few months after that. And then my uncle came to rescue us and bring us back to L.A. And my mother's dying words were, "Don't let L.A. get my kids."
Yeah.
It's exactly what you're saying about getting out of L.A. to go to Ojai, right? But they did. So I was put into a middle-class family in the valley in Canoga Park.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I went from the top to the bottom to the middle. So I look at life through a window that I don't know anyone ever has, from all those different levels of...
Yeah, I can't imagine.
And then I finally ran away from the home because it was horrible. I had the worst childhood you can imagine. And I hitchhiked around the world, and I worked in, like I said, over 70 different fields. And I would tell people the story, and they wouldn't believe it. So I said, okay, I might as well write it down. I wrote it down, I wrote a script about it, and now it's, you can read it.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. And I always tell people, so I'm going to write my story. And I give advice about that. And it's really easy advice. Write 5 minutes a day. As a goal. 5 minutes. And 5 minutes adds up. 5 minutes is 150 minutes a month.
Yeah.
And it's 1,000 minutes a year. And it turns into something. But it's just taking that step, and doing a little. And it becomes a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
Like German. Learn one German word a day. And you gotta start now. See, people think you have to go to college to get an education. No, you gotta start reading books. You gotta start studying. Watch YouTube. Start, just YouTube German. And my God, you're gonna have all these documentaries on Germany on YouTube. In your spare time. Because the more knowledge you have about Germany and about speaking German, the more value you will be in your career.
Yeah, definitely.
And only you can do that. No one's going to make you do that. So that's my advice for that. Any more advice you need?
What was your favorite field that you worked in?
Well, I like producing. And producing is coming up with an idea and seeing it to completion. In memory of my mother, I decided to do a concert. These are a lot of the stories I'll tell you is the days when it's like Wild Wild West or something, I guess. But in memory of my mother, I decided to produce her favorite entertainer in concert, Ray Charles.
Okay.
So I call up, I never produced anything before. So I call up Ray Charles people and I said, I'd like to produce Mr. Charles in concert. And they said, well, funny enough, his birthday's coming up, his 50th birthday. That would be a great concert. I said, okay, call you back in a few minutes. So then my second call was to the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion, because I knew about it, because I was living downtown. And I said, I'm producing Ray Charles on his 50th birthday. Do you have a spot? And they gave me a spot, and I produced the concert.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. So that was fun because I created it.
Yeah.
And it came out well, and it was successful. So I like producing. I think nobody should have any fear to do anything. If you fail, it just means you learn. You should learn every time you fail.
Yeah.
And if you fall down, what do? You get back up. You keep going. So producing is fun. I was 20th Century Fox's largest, or the only Portuguese dubber. I helped launch Canal Fox. So I take TV shows and movies and turn them into Portuguese. So people, when I tell people that, their first question is, do you speak Portuguese, right?
Yeah.
Not a word. So,
how do you do it?
Exactly. How do you do it? Well, see, I have a lot of common sense, and you can get by in life with common sense. So it's like, you ever heard them say, can you dance? Right? You should always say yes. Someone asks you if you can do something, always say yes. Because you can try to do it, right?
Yeah.
So my client said, can you do Portuguese dubbing? And I said, yes. So I immediately put an ad out, and I think it was Craigslist even, and they said, looking for a Portuguese director. So this guy named Gabriel answered the ad. He's Portuguese. He knows how to do dubbing. Hired him. He hired the actors, and then he also hired he actually came with the translations most of the time, but sometimes we had to hire the translators. So you hire a translator to translate the script to Portuguese. You hire the actors to say the lines.
Yeah.
And then he was the director, so we would direct the action. And then, of course, I had a studio to record it. And after you record it, then you dub it into the film, deliver the product, charge them a bunch of money, and we're off to the races.
Yeah.
So I always say yes when someone asks me if I can do something, because I'm not afraid to try it, and I like doing new and different things. So that was fun. The worst job I ever had was car salesman. You've heard of the reputation of a used car salesman?
No.
They're scum of the earth.
Yeah.
They are horrible people. The stupider you are, the happier they are to deal with you. An intelligent person doesn't get taken advantage of, and they take advantage. Like I couldn't do it. I did it for 3 months, and I said, I'm sorry, I'm a good person. I can't do this.
What kind of cars did you sell?
Toyotas in Marina Del Rey. My wife said, go out and get a job. You're driving me crazy. So I drove to the nearest place in Marina, walked in, and because I'm a pretty good salesman, and I said, you got a job. I can sell ice to an Eskimo. Sold you on being on the show, you see. Okay, I am.
What does your wife do?
She, well, when I met her, she was running a restaurant, and up in Mammoth, you know Mammoth Lakes, ski resort.
Yeah.
And so she's a restaurateur, French, gourmet cook. Then she got into the food distribution business. She was, we called her Danny Fromage. Her name's Danielle, and she was a food expert, a cheese expert, selling cheese to all the local restaurants and in chains. She actually developed the cut and price program for like Ralph's, where they cut the cheese for you and price it out. She developed that. So, and she's retired now. And I'm sort of retired, even though I have 28 jobs. Lots and lots of things. So yeah, so then I, another fun story is I was living when I was hitchhiking around, I stopped in Muscatine, Iowa, and there I built a silo, which took 3 months, and then I saw an ad for an electrical engineer for a place called Bandag. Bandag is the largest tire retreader in the world. So the factory was, like a block long, a couple blocks long. It was huge, and you needed to be a college graduate. And so I filled out the application and told them I graduated UCLA, and that I was 26 years old. I was 17, and I had a week of college.
Yeah.
A week of college was not right for me, So I went through a bunch of interviews, and they asked me, do you know electrical? 440. Because there's 110 in your home. There's 220 in most industrial buildings. And then the really big buildings is 440.
Okay.
So it's 4 times more powerful as your home current. So when he asked me, have you worked with 440? I went nuts and bolts, because that's what it is. It's not a wire nut anymore, right? It's nuts and bolts to put those wires together. So that was very confident. You see, you have to you get. Here's some advice for when you take an interview: confidence. Zoom confidence. Look in their eyes. Don't look away, and give them a straight answer. And then they asked me, do you know how to weld? I said, yeah, heliarc and gas. Didn't know how to weld. I knew about welding.
Yeah.
And so then they hired me, and I went down and fixed machines, because I could take apart things and put them back together again. So that's what I did. I fixed things for a couple weeks, and then got bored with it and moved on. But back in those days, they didn't have computers. So they couldn't check to see if I had a college degree.
Yeah.
Nowadays, everything's an instant. They know the answers to everything instantly. But I'm kind of like, my life is like Forrest Gump and Catch Me If You Can, because I just go along life and let it happen, and things happen in a good way, And then I didn't do anything illegal with, I didn't like Catch Me If You Can. You saw that movie, right? With
Not sure.
With Tom Hanks.
It
No,
rings a bell,
I'm sorry,
but I
it's not
can't
Tom Hanks.
remember.
It's Leonardo DiCaprio. Catch Me If You Can. He was he pretended to be an airline pilot, and he did all these different things. But he was doing things a little bit illegal there. So, any other questions?
You said your son plays tennis, right?
Yeah.
Does he play singles or doubles?
Well, he played singles. I taught him to play tennis. I started him at 2.
Wow.
At 6 years old, he was playing tournaments. And matter of fact, at the professional tournaments, he was a ball boy at times. And back in those days, all you had to do is know the game and hold 3 balls in one hand, as a ball boy. And he could do that at 6. And he did a famous match, quarterfinals. It was what's his name? Chang. At any rate, he was so small his shorts had to be doubled over, and he was out there on the court doing it. But so he played. He was a good junior. He did some international tournaments. Then he got a full ride at Texas A&M. My older son got a full ride at UCLA, and then they both played the tour. Lester played every Grand Slam: the French, Australian, the U.S. Open, and Wimbledon.
Oh, wow.
He played all the Grand Slams, and he's played this tournament many times. That's why he's the winningest person in the tournament history. He played in the as a 12-year-old, as a 14. In college, it's not the same division, so he never played college matches here.
Yeah.
But he's played a lot of opens, so he'll play, because he's getting old now. He's all 34, so he's an old man now. He'll play doubles in this tournament.
Okay.
And he's the 4th seed in this tournament. But he's played singles, and he had a good career in tennis. Now he gets to play with all these rich guys. They'll pay all expenses to for him to play in their tournament.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he'll make some good money for a weekend with all expenses paid. That's not too bad.
Yeah, that sounds really nice.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got 3 more minutes of you on the show. What shall we talk about? What do you think?
I don't know.
We covered tennis.
Mm-hmm.
We covered Thatcher. We covered the difference between LA and Thatcher School.
Yes.
What else? What do you like about, not to repeat anything, but Ojai? I mean, as a culture, or as a... I mean, your parents must come up and visit.
Mm-hmm.
What do they think of it?
Something that I really like is that Ojai is really safe. And just like the feeling is very kind of relaxed because there are a lot of retirement homes. And so the population is definitely much older, I would say.
Well, I didn't know that. There's a lot of retirement homes.
Yeah.
I know that during this tournament, all the mansions with tennis courts, they put their tennis court up for the young kids to play on, the younger divisions.
Oh, okay.
So you can actually get the map and see some beautiful homes if you like homes.
Mm-hmm.
There's some beautiful homes in Ojai.
Yeah, there are.
Magnificent homes. I took a great video when I was looking for you because it said keep going.
Yeah.
So I drove through the whole campus.
Oh, okay.
And I took a video of it and I put it on YouTube. That's pretty funny. Already. Well, thank you for participating in an episode of the SOS Show.
Yeah, of course.
You'll be able to see it at ilovesos.org.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully you become a supporter of veteran initiatives.
Yeah, definitely.
And you'll follow the show along. And Cooking Styles of the Rich and Famous is going to be on your TV soon. Wave bye to the crowd.
Bye.